Have you hit a sticking point in growing your back? Today I'm going to show you all the reasons why you stalled out and growing big, wide lats. First thing you're doing wrong, you're just pulling the weight and you're not actually getting good back contraction. So what I mean by that, I'm going to show you on this dumbbell row. People know that you're supposed to row this weight, and what they tend to do is they're just pulling and they're not thinking about what they should be doing, which is to let this weight come down. I want to imagine this elbow going toward my hip and contracting that lat. So instead of just thinking pulling, I want to think about lat contractions, which involves, again, elbow driving and squeezing. So again, not picking heavy weight, I'm just trying to get good contraction. Instead of just pulling, working my biceps and everything but my back, I'm thinking contractions, elbow drive, contractions. So go from thinking pulling to thinking, how can I contract my back? And on your pull down variations, that's gonna look like this. So again, people here are just pulling. They're pulling. What you wanna do is think, again, elbows coming to hips, contracting. Elbows drive, contracting. Think contractions and not pulling. So yes, you are pulling, but in your mind you need to think elbow driving to hips, contracting lats. Next thing you're doing wrong, you're doing your pullover or your straight arm push downs wrong. So these, I believe, are absolutely essential, along with rowing and pulling down, to grow your lats. Your lats were designed to do two things primarily: push your arms down and back, and that's what this rope, straight arm push down, or whatever you choose to do will do. So I'm gonna show you what people are doing wrong and what I used to do. So I will say this isn't wrong technically, but what happens here is you start to get more weight, or as your back starts to get fatigued, your triceps will start to get fatigued as well, and all you're gonna do is fill in the triceps. So people are locking their arms out and going straight. Again, not wrong, but the better way to do it is to bend those elbows, keep them in that bent position, and what I'm focused on doing is pushing my elbows down and then back past my body. So I'm going stretching, pushing down and back. So all that we're really doing here is going from a straight arm to a bent arm, and I'm focusing on pushing elbows down and back, overemphasizing a stretch, push elbows down and back to get good peak lat contractions. Next thing you're doing wrong that's holding your lat growth back, you're only using your back for half the rep. And what I mean by that is time under tension is probably one of the biggest factors that comes into play when growing a muscle. So if you're not using your lat or the target muscle to control the rep the whole time, you're missing out on a huge opportunity to get it to grow there. So I'm gonna show you what I mean by you're only using your lats half the rep. So let's say I'm on this machine, I'm rowing, and I'm just letting it slide back. I'm letting it fly back. So right here, when my hands come back, my lats aren't doing anything. What you want to do to keep those lats engaged and keep time under tension, I'm rowing, driving those elbows like we talked about earlier. I'm rowing, I'm squeezing, and I'm using my lats to slow that weight down and not let it just fall down. Keeping them engaged, drive it back. So I'm here slow. Use those lats to control that weight. So again, they stay under tension and they keep burning. Using those lats the whole time. Use those lats to slow it down, drive and squeeze. If you're finding these tips helpful and want to see more things on how to grow your back, subscribe to the channel. I have tons of back training videos on there. Next up, you're training too heavy. So yes, you do have to train heavy to get any muscle to grow, but there's no point in training heavy if the target muscle isn't taking all the load. So what you want to do is adjust the weight so that the back is actually taking the load and not the whole body. So I'm going to show you what people are doing here, especially on a machine like this. People are putting too much weight and they're using momentum and everything's swinging around, and my back's not doing a whole lot there. It is right there for that last little part, but not anything else because the weight's too heavy. So adjust the weight, swallow your pride, make sure the target muscle is working. You can still use heavy weight and get that muscle to grow, but again, everything's on the back now. And this weight, I can already tell, it's gonna be hard for me by about 12 to 15, which again, for some people isn't heavy, but for me, I'm gonna work down to 10 to 12 with that on the next set. So again, adjust your weight and make sure the target muscle, especially your lats, is working. Next up, you're doing exercises that you don't feel in your back. So I was guilty of this, or this kept me from growing for about the first 10 to 15 years of my bodybuilding career. Was I was following what all the top pros were doing, which was heavy bent over barbell rows, pull-ups, bad form on pull down, stuff like that. I was copying them and not saying anything to get my back to grow. So my advice to you is, if you're doing exercises you don't feel in your back, switch it up for a while. So for instance, if you don't like dumbbell rows, switch to a one-arm cable row or a machine row. Try a bunch of different things out and see how they feel for your back, because just like we stated with that heavy weight, if you're not feeling the lats working, good chance they're not gonna grow. Next, we have you're not taking anything to failure or beyond failure. So A lot of people, and myself in my early stage of career, are guilty of only working the standard 3 sets of 10, 3 sets of 12, 4 sets of 15, whatever it may be. Whatever they're given quote unquote workout calls for is all they're really doing for their sets of reps, when they're not really focusing on, you know, pyramiding up and getting to their final set being their failure set. So my advice here is, if you're not taking any sets to failure, take one set per exercise to failure. So if you're doing 5 exercises for back on back day, take 1 set for each exercise and work it to failure, and sometimes even beyond. The last tip I got for you to get your back to grow is you're not training it enough. And this can mean 2 things. The first thing meaning you're doing 1 back day, and on that back day you're only doing about 12 sets. And then, just like I touched on, you're only working 1 back day when you need to come back and do a second back day. So what I would do is check both those boxes. So on your primary back day, go from doing about 12 sets to push that to maybe 15 to 18 sets. And then check out that second box. You want to come back later in the week and hit about another 9 to 12 sets. So in my experience, what got my back to grow, and a lot of the clients I worked with, is the back is a large muscle group and not only needs more tension, but can handle the load to stimulate it to get it to grow. So work it more often and with a little more volume, and make sure, like on that last one I just touched on those sets you are doing, a few of them you're taking to failure and beyond. I know back can be a frustrating, hard muscle group to grow, but I promise you, if you follow all those things to a T, really work on improving on those things week to week, and move your weight up, move your reps up, and practice your intensity, I promise you, 6 months, maybe even sooner, you're gonna have a bigger, wider back. If you like this video, guys, subscribe to the channel. As always, stay swole.